Hello YouTube, Sidekick here with another Mission Editor tutorial video. You'll remember that the last time we had worked on our first mission and we'd created an aircraft, we'd created a target, but we hadn't had a chance to go out and fly it yet. So let's pick up where we left off. We'll go to the Mission Editor, we'll find the mission we were working on. Okay, so here we are, and you will recall that we have a single aircraft here. It's an Su-25T. It is taking off from parking at Mozdok Airport, and here we have a single target. It's basically a tanker truck, and it's on the road down here. So why don't we just first, before we do anything else, why don't we just jump in the mission and go fly it and see what it looks like. Okay, here we are in the cockpit of our trusty Su-25T. But before we go out and fly the mission, I just want to show you something. So I've pressed the F10 key. Oops, got to zoom out. And just go over and actually show you how you can actually take a look at the target in the game. So you're going to get a look at what we're going to be seeing when we fly the mission. So we get here, and we're going to press Control F11. That's Control F11. Now I'm using the mouse button to move. Rolling it backwards moves you forwards. Yes, it's the Mission Editor. And the farther you roll it, the faster you go. You can actually take a look. It actually gives you an actual airspeed. And then you just point with the mouse. Now you will always move exactly in the direction that the mouse is pointing, with one exception that I'll show you in a sec. So we kind of have to go, move around here. We can stop. We can look. See what the target looks like. We can move back, forward, move down the road a little bit, look at it from another perspective, and then we can start backing out. And there's an interesting thing you can do. You can press Alt-K, and when you press Alt-K, then you stop moving in altitude. So there, I've pressed it, and now you can see we're moving backwards, but we're not moving up anymore. So this is handy for moving around the world. It's also useful when you're making videos. You can get some neat effects using this system. So I'm just backing up a little bit more here. I just want to get a look at what the world is going to look like, because we don't have any other way of marking that target. We didn't put a waypoint on it or anything. So we're just going to have to find it visually. So we kind of want to memorize what it looks like. Here, I'm going to press Alt-K again here. And then we can start pulling back and up. Tilt the camera down, point up, pull up a little bit more, so we get a picture of what the target area looks like. And with that, we're probably ready to go jump into the cockpit again. Okay, here we are back in the cockpit. Get ourselves rolling here. Won't go through the whole taxi and takeoff. We'll fast forward a little bit here in spots, but I gotta get me a minute to get used to the Su-25T. It's been a while since I flew it. Just taxi out. Remember, we were in a taxi space. Remember, the runway's to the right. So taxi out. Head to the runway. We're just going to take off, make basically a 180 turn, and then start looking for the target. All right, coming out onto the runway. You can see we got bombs and rockets. Maybe I'll use the rockets for this run. If we don't hit with the rockets, then we get the bombs as the backup. Ourselves straightened out here on the runway. And get ready. Get lined up. Get the flaps down. Get some trim set here in a sec. And getting far back. And it looks like we're good to go. we are off on our very first Mission Editor mission. Rotate speed off the ground, and away we go. So we'll get a little bit of altitude here, and then we'll turn around and just start looking for the target. Nothing fancy today. We just want to go and prove that we can find the target and take it out. All right, let's start coming around back down the runway, and then obviously we're going to look to the right, see if we can pick up the target area. So remember, we're looking for those 4 fields where they intersect. That's about where the target is. So you know what, I just want to pause here for a second. So this, I think, is one of the really neat things about games like DCS. For me, at least, it's actually really kind of a little bit of a thrill to go out and, essentially program things that I want to have happen in the world, and then go out and actually interact with them, through the game engine. But, the fact of the matter is, the aircraft is where I put it, the target is where I put it, the ordnance is on the airplane the way I designed it. It really is kind of neat to have a sandbox where you can go out and make something yourself inside the framework that the developers have developed. I think it's one of the things I really enjoy about DCS. I get to fly it my way. So hopefully that's why you're watching this video, and hopefully if you're watching it, you'll give it a try yourself. I think I've gone slightly past it. I think that right-hand side. Remember right there. I think we're just passing it there. We'll put it off the left-hand side so we can take a quick look. Over there, right where the fields meet. I can't see, you gotta zoom in a little bit more here. Yeah, there he is. There he is. Okay. So let's zoom out, check the HUD, looks good. And right about there we can roll in. Just a matter of getting the pipper on the target now. We got the laser on. There we go. Make sure we get a good shot. Your time. Get it lined up. Get it lined up. There we go. Nice. Well, all right. There we go. Successful mission that we designed ourselves. Yeah, something about that just feels pretty good. So, now all there is left to do, if you wanted to finish the mission by going back and landing at Mozdok, then you can do that. But that's pretty much it for flying your first mission. So why don't we just end it here, and we'll go back to the Mission Editor and see what else we can do. Okay, here we are back in the Mission Editor. So that went pretty well. So what should we do to keep developing this mission? I think there's a couple of things we could do to make it a little bit more interesting. The first is maybe we'll add a few more targets. That mission's pretty simple, doesn't give you a whole lot of scope for using different weapons or making multiple passes at the target. So maybe we'll turn this target into a convoy. That's one thing we could do. Another thing we could do is we could give ourselves a few more options with respect to what to fly and how to fly it. So we could put another airplane at the airport, and then when the mission starts, we'll have the option of picking which airplane we fly. So we can do both of those things. So let's take a look, first of all, at adding some targets. Okay, so there's our target. So as we zoom in here, one thing that you may not have noticed before is that if you zoom in far enough, you can actually see the target, the vehicle, from the top down. So sometimes that's useful. So if we want to add more vehicles, we just click on the group, and it brings up the dialog box over here. Now, the way to add more vehicles is to press the plus key here, and it will just add a vehicle to the group. Now, an interesting thing is that because there was only one vehicle, so it was the lead vehicle that I selected, it adds vehicles behind in front of the lead vehicle. So then the added vehicle becomes the actual new lead vehicle. So if I grab this vehicle, see it's got a little 1 beside it. If I grab this vehicle and move it, it's going to move all of the vehicles. Now, if I turn it so that it's facing down the road, it's only going to turn the lead vehicle. Now, I don't really want to have to go through that process every time. So now I'm going to click on the second vehicle. So now when I press the plus key, it's going to add vehicles behind the lead vehicle. Interestingly enough, though, it has changed the orientation of the front vehicle. This is the mission editor, folks. Okay, so we'll get the lead vehicle pointed down the road. And now notice that even if I pull him a little bit off the road, he's going to come back on the road and change his direction because we have the formation listed as on road. So if we wanted to create a formation off the road, we could click this to one of the other formations, and then we would be allowed to move the vehicles where we wanted to be. What will happen with the formation is that they will not snap into that formation, but if they start to move, they will adopt the formation that you select here. So it's a little bit subtle. So maybe we don't want to have an entire convoy of tanker trucks. So what we can do is we can pick any individual truck in here, and we can go up here and we can pick a different vehicle. So let's make a couple of them. We'll zoom in, make a couple of them just transports. Maybe we'll add one here that's just an HE, just a HEMT, another HEMT, and then maybe we'll make the guy at the back a Humvee, basically. Okay, so now we have a nice little convoy. Now, there is one thing that I want you to notice. If I want to delete the last vehicle, under no circumstances should I press the delete key. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to screw up the mission. But if I press the delete key, I'm going to delete the whole group. This is another one of those little interesting facts about the mission editor. If I want to delete the last vehicle, I have to hit the minus key, not the delete button. Remember that. Do not delete using the delete key. You'll delete the whole group, and there is no Control-Z to bring it back, so everything you have done will be lost. So put it there, and again, it comes up as the HEMT tanker. We want to make it into a M1025, so there we go. Now, at this point, I would definitely suggest saving the mission because of the effect that I was talking about. That if you don't save the mission and by mistake you hit the delete key, then since there's no undo, there's no way to get back to where you were without resaving the mission. So save early, save often, folks. All right, so that is now more enemies. Let's add some friendlies. So in this case, let me show you an interesting thing you can do. So we'll highlight our aircraft. It's an Su-25T. It's called Player because it's the only aircraft that's available. What I can do, though, and that's interesting in the mission editor, and this is another little funny thing about the mission editor, I can press Control-C, and then if I hover my cursor where I want to put it down, I can press Control-V. I think this is further proof that this was an application that was designed by programmers, honestly, because you won't find that anywhere. There's no copy paste menu item. It's just Control-C, Control-V. So when I do that, it's going to inherit all of the properties of the previous aircraft, including the weapons loadout and the livery and everything. So this can be very useful. And we'll find later when we're doing testing, it will also inherit the waypoints, but the waypoints will be displaced by exactly the amount that you displace the copy. So this can actually be a very useful thing when we're making missions with a lot more aircraft, and we'll talk about it in another video. So let's make this a little bit more interesting. So let's change the type. Let's make it an Su-25 this time. For those of you who don't own the Su-25, just leave it as an Su-25T. And now let's go look at the payload. Oops, didn't take. Okay, now let's go look at the payload. There we go. So, because we switched aircraft, we lost all of the weapons loadout. So let's make our Su-25T the one that we're going to use to drop bombs. So let's just put a Fab 250. Let's just put, how many do we want to carry? Let's put 4 Fab 250s on this guy. Oops, I didn't mean to put it there. Okay, what the heck? Let's put 6 Fab 250s on this guy. Gotta make sure you're looking at the numbers. Don't look straight up at the airplane. Make sure you're making sure that the pylon numbers match. So again, I'm right-clicking on the box, and then I'm using left-click to select the payload that I want to have. So, and let's go down and let's also let's put him in Air Force Standard livery for an Su-25. So that looks pretty good. And now he's called Aerial 2. Now the other thing we can do is we'll go back to our original aircraft, and we'll get rid of the bombs, and we'll make this an all-rocket loadout. Okay, so if we're going to go out and do damage with the Su-25T, it's going to be with rockets, and if we're going to go out with the Su-25, it's going to be with bombs. So we can select which one we want to practice with by selecting the aircraft. So that's helpful. So the last thing that I want to do in this video is just show you how to add, let's call a little bit of flavor to your video by changing the time of day, time of year, and the weather. It's all under this weather icon. So let's start up here. Our original mission was flown in June. Well, let's change that to October. And so we'll get, and we'll also go back and make it 8 o'clock in the morning, because we want to have now, DCS does model length of day, position of the sun, all that sort of thing. So if I set it to 8 o'clock in October, I'm going to have different lighting conditions than I did for 8 o'clock in June, and that's what I want to show you. The other thing we can do is add some clouds. So let's put the clouds starting at, well, let's have a base at around 6,000 feet. Let's make them, I don't know, 5,000 feet thick. And let's give them a density of, let's go at least 0.6. I find with DCS, basically, it doesn't seem, well, there's either sort of no clouds, scattered clouds, or overcast. I'm sure that it's paying attention to this parameter, but the way it expresses itself in the game, it's not always, there's not a lot of fine detail, put it that way. You have to get to 9/10 cloud to get to overcast, and then it just seems to be full overcast. 8/10 isn't anywhere close to full overcast. 9/10 is basically full overcast. And 1 or 2, you basically have no clouds, and anywhere between sort of 3 and 8, you have a lot of clouds. So it's not a very fine, you can't really fine tune the clouds, at least currently, although apparently that is something that's coming. There are some other settings on this page that I'm not going to go over at this point, but you do have a lot of control over the environment. So that's something that you can certainly experiment with. Okay, I think we're just about ready to go out and take a look and see what our new mission looks like. So as per usual, we're going to go over here and save, because that's best practice. But you know what? This is already a 20-minute video, so maybe we'll just leave it there. And like last time, we'll start the next video by going right into the mission and seeing what it looks like. Maybe we won't fly the whole mission again, but we will at least take a look around. So that's going to be it for now. As always, if you'd like to see the videos keep coming, please like and subscribe. Come to the Discord channel. And for now, this is going to be Sidekick, signing off.